You are listening to Season 2 of The Diary of a Wannabe Writer, the short and often daily podcast in which I chronicle my life and attempt to be a writer by writing daily. Sometimes. Hello, today is Monday the 14th of July 2025 and you are listening to The Diary of a Wannabe Writer. And I left it on a bit of a cliffhanger yesterday. What was I going to do today? I hadn't decided. So what monumentous decision did I come up with? Well, I didn't. I still didn't know what I wanted to do, so I had a lazy day. So where I'm staying is near a little town called Hexham. I went into Hexham. There's a few little bits and pieces to do there, like there's an old jail and bits and pieces, but I've mainly read. So the book I mentioned yesterday, which, if I remember rightly, well, I definitely misnamed it. I think I called it, well, anyway, the correct title for the book that I named yesterday is The Betrayal of Thomas True. I think I might have called it something different. I definitely got the word betrayal wrong, and I might have got his surname wrong as well. But apart from that, what I said yesterday was fairly accurate. And yeah, it's one that I've got to finish by Wednesday or it might be Thursday. I need to check that because it's the monthly book club book for July. And yeah, it's been really interesting, and it's twisty and turny. So it's basically all about this lad who goes into London, and it's in the year 1799, or right at the end of that century anyway. And he's gay, and he gets caught in a world of, they used to call them mollies. So in those days, you couldn't go to a local, there wasn't a gay bar or all that kind of stuff. It was all highly illegal. Sodomy could result in your quite often did result in you being hung and stuff like that. So it's kind of dangerous lives these guys lead. But anyway, this lad gets caught up in this web of intrigue because somebody has betrayed the mollies, which is what they call each other, and is giving them up. So justices are slowly picking them off and executing them, and sometimes they're being murdered. And the theory is that there is a traitor amongst the mollies who's feeding information to a pair of justices who are using a person, an undercover person called the Rat, to get all this information. And within the little sort of cliques within these gay men, they all start to think it's the new guy, Thomas True. And so the book is called The Betrayal of Thomas True. And you're sitting there thinking, now, is it called The Betrayal of Thomas True because he does the betraying, or is it called The Betrayal of Thomas True because he's betrayed? And it really keeps you guessing for a really long way. I've got about another 20 pages to read. However, I now know the identity of the Rat. I'm not going to say who it is. But yeah, it's quite an enjoyable book. So yes, I shall look forward to that. And then I'm going to start another book this evening because I've dozed a little bit during the day. I've sat in coffee shops. I nearly did some writing. I actually considered sitting down and looking at the prologue to Self-Portrait, which is my still life sequel, but decided no, I really the problem with starting Self-Portrait is that I really need to sign off Empress of the Trees before I do that, and the only way I can sign off Empress is for that hardback version to appear and for me to read it and sign it off, basically. Now that's not then fully signed off because it will go out to some beta readers, and I will hopefully get feedback hopefully I'll get feedback that means I don't need to change anything, but I will get feedback, and if I do need to change anything, that will be changed, and that will be hopefully then the final version of that book. But it's quite a long book. It's 270,000 words. So I'm giving my beta readers 3 months to do it. And obviously I'm not going to do no writing in those 3 months. And that's the time I feel I should start on the first draft of Self-Portrait. I won't get the first draft finished in 3 months. I never work that quickly, especially now I'm on a write edit model. And it will be weird having to, once the feedback comes back, it will be weird to have to stop self-portrait to finish off Empress, but I really want to finish off Empress of the Trees because it's been hanging over me for a really long time. I've been working on that book by the time I finish it, it will have been nearly 6 years. Now, as I've said before, that's not 6 solid years. That's kind of a very solid 3 or 4 months at the beginning, and then it tailing off, and then me having like 2 or 3 years off in the middle. But anyway, right. So I'm in Northumberland. Tomorrow is my last day. Tomorrow is the day I go home. And depending on what kind of mood I'm in, I'm toying with the idea of doing something on the way home. Haven't decided what. So if today's pattern's anything to go by, I'll end up doing nothing. But the idea is, rather than do a 4-hour drive, all in one go, I will find something to do somewhere in that middle hour of the drive, somewhere between 1.5 hours and 2.5 hours into the journey, to stop and have a look. And I've already to stop and just kind of make the time a bit more interesting. So I'm thinking of maybe there's several National Trust and English Heritage sites on the route home, so I can do that, or I could take a slightly different route home. Is another possibility. So, but yeah, we'll just see how I feel. I'll make it up as I go along. But yeah, back home tomorrow. And I've quite enjoyed being away. I've done bugger all today, admittedly, but I've quite enjoyed being away. So I might try and come away for 3 or 4 days one more time before I go back to work at the end of or the beginning of next month. Anyway, thank you for listening. I'll be back at some point tomorrow. Bye-bye.
You have been listening to The Diary of a Wannabe Writer. For more information about what I'm writing, go to linktr.ee/Richard Writes, capital R, capital W, where you can find details of my website and social media. I may see you there.